Hello friends. In this video we will tell. University of Florida researchers teach dogs to detect COVID-19. Anthony Fauci is the highest paid out of 4 million according to www.usa.one. U.S. federal workers. University of Florida researchers teach dogs to detect COVID-19. Florida International University researchers have taught dogs to detect COVID-19, reports CBS Miami as reported by www.usa.one. This spring, the dogs will be working on campus to combat the spread of the virus. They were also invited to check the State Operations Center in Tallahassee. According to the university's vice-chancellor, Kenneth Fauci, dog handlers take a different approach from the one used to screen fans at NBA games. Our dogs search surfaces. We check the places where people were, mainly where the students sat in their places. He explained, while in the NBA games they actually test people before they enter the arena. This is how it works at the stadium. Fans line up in a security check zone at socially distant locations, holding their hands at their sides, according to www.usa.one. Dogs walk past each person, sniffing at them. If the dog doesn't stop next to you, you can safely go to watch the game. If the dog sits next to you, Miami Heat reports, it signals the handler that he may have detected COVID-19. An employee will then help you and your group with reimbursement of expenses, but you will not be able to enter the arena. Fauci noted that their dogs showed a good detection rate, over 90%, with a very low rate of false positives as reported by www.usa.one. In many ways, they are even more reliable than some of the laboratory tests we are currently doing, he said. According to Fauci, training these dogs is very similar to training a quadruped to detect drugs and bombs. Experienced dogs only need a few weeks to train, while recruits can take 2 to 3 months. The breed doesn't really matter. The encouraging results from several studies have spurred scientists around the world to develop and expand programs for dogs that can screen people for COVID-19 infection at airports, hospitals, or social and sporting events. While early experiments show a high level of accuracy, the researchers also warn that peer review and large-scale research is still needed. Dog handlers stress that while research on dogs for detecting coronavirus looks promising, it is not yet conclusive. Research examining how reliable dogs are in detecting coronavirus infection is ongoing, and there are still many questions to be answered. I think this is such a new method that we have yet to determine how effective it is and how reliable dogs are at detecting such things, said Dr. Douglas Kratt, president of the American Veterinary Medical Association. Researchers have yet to begin training dogs to detect new strains of COVID-19. But Fauci said he thought dogs could smell them too. We expect them to warn of different strains because the smells are probably very similar, www.usa.one reports. But we are still working on that, said Fauci. Anthony Fauci is the highest paid out of 4 million according to www.usa.one. U.S. federal workers. Dr. Anthony Fauci earned $417,608 in 2019, the last year for which federal salary data is available as reported by www.usa.one. This made him not only the highest paid physician in the federal government, but also the highest paid of the 4 million federal employees. Moreover, if Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, at the National Institutes of Health, and chief medical advisor to the incumbent president, remains in office and does not receive a raise, his salary from 2019 to 2024 will be $2.5 million. According to www.usa.one. At the start of the pandemic, Dr. Fauci became one of the key individuals of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, informing the country about COVID-19 on a daily basis. In March 2020, he convinced President Donald Trump to introduce a 15-day lockdown to lower the incidence of the disease, and at the end of the month, he presumably advocated an extension. Vice President Mike Pence, who led the task force, could have surpassed Dr. Fauci in authority. However, the vice president's 2019 salary of $235,100 was less than that of the NIAID director. Payroll data was collected as part of the News.Dogs survey. Only federal employees whose salaries are funded by taxpayers were included in the report. Thank you for attention. Link to the channel under the video in the description.